again with Rob, and we're going to be talking about something very interesting today. Fairies, sprites, nymphs, all part of children's stories, fantasy and make-believe, part of myth and folklore. Or are they? Today we're going to talk about nature spirits. So Rob, you're going to tell us that these nature spirits are actually real.
They are real, they do exist, but we're not very good at accepting anything else that we can't see. It's just who we are, the human race really. But as you've just mentioned, all around the world, every country almost in their folklore or anything else, they have fairies, have all the sort of things you've just mentioned. So even that makes you feel like there must be something there, but people aren't open to it. The problem is people aren't open to this type of thing. With these videos that we're doing, I can only talk about things that have happened to me.
Right.
And that's to me is the best way of putting this across. So from my point of view, in a circle situation where you are training people and you are opening people's minds, so they're sensing things they wouldn't sense in their normal life, which is what's taking place. So over many years, a few times in circle, I have seen what you might describe as fairies on someone. And normally when I'm sensing fairies or nature spirits, whatever you want to call them, sitting on someone in the circle, someone else will sense it at the same time. So it's just not me going mad, if you see what I mean. But with this type of thing, when you sense a fairy, nature spirit, whatever you want to call them, you're not necessarily seeing them as a fairy white with wings on. Right. You'll see this on TV and all the programs and fantasy films and everything else. So people presume that's what it is. And the thing is, when I say I'm seeing them on someone sitting in circle aware, get that in perspective, is you're not seeing with your eyes. So when a medium, say you go for a medium, you have a clairvoyant reading and they say, oh, I can see your granny standing next to you. In nearly all cases, they're sensing it. So in your mind, you're sensing granny next to them. You're sensing shape, size, character, everything about her. But you would say you're seeing them because that's how people would understand it.
Like in your mind's eye kind
It's
of
in
thing.
your mind's eye, and that's what a medium is doing. You're using a sense that isn't normally used.
Right.
That is what takes place. So in perspective, when I'm seeing these nature spirits, fairies on someone in circle, I'm sensing the energy around them. And the energy is very small and different places sitting on them. And I can sense that's what they are. And I can sense when they're there, it's healing is what they're up to. That was what was taking place. Now, if you try and put this in perspective in normal life, because it all sounds rather weird, if you walk out in your garden and there's flowers around, or you take a walk through the forest is the classic one, no one else around, you've got the trees, you've got the wildlife, you've got everything going on, you relax. Immediately relax, you calm down. And often doctors will say, go for a walk in the forest and get away from everything. And when you walk through the forest, you have the nature spirits out there, and they are a healing energy force, and you are feeling healed. Even though you've not put two and two together and realised what's going on. It doesn't make any difference if you believe it or not. You walk through a forest and you feel better. And this is what is taking on with nature spirits. To add one other thing to this, personally with myself, a few weeks ago in a circle situation where I am training people, we had an evening, and I'm often guided what to do in the circle by those on the other side. We had an evening there. And at one point in the evening where everything was cleared, for want of just better way of putting it, I'm sure it was arranged from the other side, but hundreds of nature spirits came in. So when I say nature spirits, again, these were little balls of energy, the best way. Now I was seeing them all come in, but obviously this is in my mind, seeing them all come in. Now I'm sure people listening to this think, oh, it's just lost the plot, it's not taking place whatsoever. Maybe I have. But the point is, when I'm sensing that taking place, and I've done this all my life, the point is, the other four people in the circle, so there's 5 of us in the circle, all sense exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And this is part of circle training, if you like. When people sit in the circle and they're sensing something in the room, their first thought is, I'm losing the plot, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But when you're teaching people in a circle, when they sense the same thing, perhaps what I'm sensing, they start to open their mind and realise that they are sensing it and this is taking place. So it does take training, but on that particular evening, everybody in the circle was sensing these hundreds of nature spirits that came in the circle. So we were blessed that that took place, and the healing was definitely taking place to members who were sitting there in the circle. And even a few days later, one of the people there who is a healer connects with people over Zoom doing healing, and she sensed them around her after this was taking place, and she sent to the person she was giving healing to who felt amazing the next
Wow.
day. But again, you learn all the time. And the point is that took place in the circle, which opened our minds to the possibility that you can use them for healing. And now that takes place. So our mind has been open to that possibility, and now it's happening. And this is training during your life on the earth plane and everything else, is slowly opening your mind to possibilities of what can take place.
Exactly.
And that's part of the reason of doing these videos, because in my situation, regularly when I'm giving readings at my house, you know, you have their loved ones come through who may have believed in this sort of thing and may have believed in life after death, and they come through it easily. Then you have the others who believed in nothing. No, you're alive, you're dead, you're dead. They can take a bit longer to come through, and initially they're in a bit of a shock because they weren't expecting anything whatsoever.
Right.
And the reality is, we know so little. There is so much around us around the earth plane, so many life forms on the earth plane, and especially when you move over. But our minds are so closed that unless you're being spoken to about it, or unless you're being trained, you won't sense anything because it doesn't exist.
And you won't be aware. And as far as the nature spirits, I mean, what is their job? They obviously are connected in nature. Are they helpers in nature? What is their job in nature?
In nature, they are helping the trees, they're helping the flowers. That is what their job is, that is what they do. But they're also there for healing for us. That is one of their purposes out there. And that's why you walk through a forest, you sense so many nature spirits, because that's what they're doing, helping nature, and that makes us feel good. But in our lives nowadays, you know, so often we live in concrete jungles.
Right,
You
so
feel
disconnected from...
Absolutely, and that's why it makes such a big difference when you suddenly draw close to them in the forest.
And that's why the indigenous people of this world, the Native Americans, the Aborigines, have always understood the presence
Yes.
of them, because they've remained connected with the earth. So Grandad, when he's tending his roses and they're blooming beautifully, he's actually probably getting some help.
Yes.
Because he has such an appreciation for
In your garden, they're around the flowers and everything else, and when you appreciate flowers, you make their day. It sounds very strange, but you do, because that's their purpose and what they're doing. When you go out there and you sense all this beauty in the flowers and everything else, it makes you feel good. But people don't put two and two together. It's because they are there, you're making their day, and you're getting the healing from them. And that's what they're about, giving healing.
My goodness, such a fascinating subject. I think we're going to have to do another segment on this at some point. We've run out of time, but we want to thank you. Please, this is quite a stretch for a lot of people, so we'd love to hear your comments. We'll see you soon. We know your time is precious.